Buongiorno from Tuscany. We're going to head to Siena, once the financial capital of the Middle Ages, home to the very first bank in the world that's still operational, a beautiful Duomo that has some majestic art collections, Gothic buildings, medieval streets, one of the oldest and most important horse races, and the sweets. Wait till you see the collection. Siena definitely has something for everyone. It's been here, what, since the Etruscan times?
Yes, it was here 3,000 years ago. We have some remainings from that time, but mostly the town grown a lot between the 12 and the 1300s, and it was a powerful town at that time, enough to compete with the great town of Florence.
And
yes.
Were they like New York and Boston, always fighting about everything?
Yeah, that's the same for Siena and Florence. They were in war for 300 years. They were hating for so long, and still now they don't love each other. They compete for the best food, the best wine, the best history, best art, for everything. So
who has the best cathedral?
That's a very interesting question. If you talk about the sides, Florence, but if we talk about what you can find inside, absolutely Siena. Siena is unbeatable.
It is magnificent. We're going to go inside in just a bit. I want to go in a little bit further about Florence and Siena. Why were these the superpowers of the time? And we're talking 1300s.
Absolutely. So you have to imagine that Siena and Florence were competing for the sites of their cathedrals, and the Cathedral of Siena actually is the highest concentration of art that you can find in the world, at least in Italy, in a church. It's the only place you can find at the same time masterpieces from Michelangelo, Raffaello, Donatello, Bernini, Giovanni Pisano, Pinturicchio, and so many that if I finish the list, we finish tomorrow. It's a very impressive place. Siena, it's not soccer, it's not Palio, no.
Well, this is what you call a pizza. Look at the size of these. Oh my God. And also some kebabs. Buongiorno. Wow. And here's the famous hot dog and French fries. Yes, don't judge. That's what they like on their pizza. So how did Siena become such a powerhouse in the Middle Ages?
Well, mostly because it was on the pilgrimage path called Francigena. And so the Francigena was the main highway of the Middle Ages. So Siena was one walking day distance from the previous spot, one walking day distance to the next one, and practically all the pilgrims, they had to stop there. And this obviously made the locals made a lot of money on this pilgrimage, on these pilgrims that were obviously the richest members of the communities of the Middle Ages.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the oldest bank in the world. 1472, Monte dei Paschi di Siena was formed with the union of two other banks, and it is still operational. The oldest bank in the world? Really? Here in Siena?
Yes.
Yep.
We have the oldest bank still living in the world that is called Monte dei Paschi di Siena. It was founded in 1472, and it was always a very important bank for the town, because you have to imagine that the bank was public, was owned by the town. So all the activities of the town were financed by this bank, and they were obviously influencing the politics of the town. The benches is the main street of the town that was on an important pilgrimage path, is called Banchi di Sopra, that means upper benches. So you have to imagine that these benches were not used by the pilgrims, but were used by the locals. The locals were making a lot of money on the pilgrims. how
So they were exchanging money.
Exactly, correct. They were exchanging their currency with a local currency. Because imagine they were telling to them, hi, what is your currency? Oh, I have this francs from France. Oh, you're gonna sleep under the bridge if you don't change the local currency. So they were exchanging to them, and then when they were coming back to France from Rome, they were exchanging again. Oh, you're going to France, you need back your money. So they were making double money on the same people. When in Italy we say banca,
Banks.
banca the word comes from these benches, because these benches were used to lend money. And later, when we say bankruptcy, that word comes from the same concept, the banca rotta, broken bench.
Siena is divided into 17 neighborhoods. They're called contradas. And there's several ways you can be a member of a contrada. One of them is by being born here. The Palio race is one of the most important events for the people of Siena. They go crazy here over this. And it's been here, some type of a race, not in this format exactly, since the 1500s. Now the present day format started about 1700. But if you get a chance and you're here in August, make sure you come here and check that out. This is where the horse races took place, Piazza dei Capo.
In the Middle Ages, it was very common all around Italy, but we can say in Europe, that the noble families were competing in these horse races. And that was the same in Siena. The first race was the 15th of August, and this horse race was participated only by the nobles. Then later what happened, that the contradas, the different neighborhoods of the town, they wanted to participate too. But the nobles say, no, this is only for the nobles. If you want to make a horse race, do it the day after. So what happened, they started another race, making the 16th of August. And the one of the nobles, no one was interested and disappeared like in the rest of Italy. Instead, the one made by the contradas survived, and we have the race of the 16th of August that is dedicated to the Assumption of the Madonna, that is the day before.
Wow, look at that.
Look how many people, there are 20,000 people in the square.
Now you can see.
The place where they were managing the power, there's the place where they were... now is the city hall. They made 3 laps in this direction, riding on a layer of dirt. They don't ride on the cobblestones. They closed the red part of the square and this part where they put benches. And they made 3 laps in this direction. 1, 2, and 3. The whole race lasts 1 minute and 15 seconds. Okay, it's a very short race. And the life of the town is all about this. One day, the Minister of the Environment said, this is dangerous for the horses, we have to cancel, no? Like the corrida, no? It's cruel. You know what was the answer of the mayor of Siena? If you cancel the Palio, we don't want to be part of Italy anymore.
Oh
we want independence. Because Palio is the soul of the town of Siena. You cannot cancel the Palio.
So what is a cecchino?
Cecchino is in Siena with cecchino we mean 2 different things. This kind of pizza without tomato sauce, is called cecchino in Siena.
So like a white pizza.
The like white pizza, no, a simple white pizza. But with cecchino, we means also filet cecchino, cecchino Sienese. That is fillet with stuff, this stuff. That is not a panino, like someone was saying, neither a calzone.
Ready? That's all?
Buon appetito.
Buon appetito.
Buon appetito.
3 euro, thank you.
There are many sweets: cantucci, panforte, panpepato, ricciarelli, cavallucci. There are many.
The cantuccia is a very special way of eating
very
it.
special way of eating. Normally it's a dessert that you eat at the end of the meal, and you dip into a famous local dessert wine called Vin Santo, holy wine. You dip in it and you wait 10 seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. When you finish, you can eat. The biscuit is not anymore hard, but it's soft and spongy of alcohol, and you can get drunk.
I made it for Christmas this year with
The owner now is from Sicily.
cantucci.
The owner of this pasticceria is from
Sì,
Sicily.
esatto, i cantucci sono lì da assaggiare, quindi
It's with dried fruits,
Allora,
nuts.
sì, dry fruit, nuts, honey, and dressed with black pepper. But now they use also other spices to mild a little bit the taste, because otherwise it
And
was too
that's what
strong.
the pilgrims could eat for
They
and
were-
walk around for miles.
See, they could walk for
for
many
long.
days with that, because it was never getting bad. Also, now you have plastic, but normally you have paper. The paper was exactly the same kind of container that was used also in the Middle Ages. So they were putting in the pocket, in their, somewhere, and they could walk for many days, giving a lot of calories and never getting bad. So very good, very fantastic idea.
If you're here in Siena, you must stop at Nannini. Started by Gina Nannini, who's a famous singer. And you saw the sign, artigianale, so you know it's delicious. Cannoli siciliano. You don't see these types of sweets in Sicily. And this was the Pilgrim Street, because of course it leads to the cathedral. Can you just imagine all the people that walk through here, had a pane forte, prayed, and made it here? And so there was also a competition about who was going to build the biggest cathedral, Florence or
correct,
Siena?
Correct. Siena built their own cathedral first, and at that point the Florentines, they were making their own. They said, our cathedral is not big enough, let's make a bigger one. They left a big hole on the top. They say, someone will figure it out how to finish it, and that was Brunelleschi 100 years later. And Siena at that point, they said, oh no, that barbarians on the north are making a cathedral bigger than ours. We have to do something for that. So they called a great architect called Giovanni D'Agostino. Giovanni D'Agostino started to work at the new cathedral, but then arrived the plague from 1348 that killed 2/3 of the population, and the project was abandoned and left unfinished. And still now you can see the traces of the new Duomo, the new cathedral, that are outside of the fantastic cathedral that we can visit now. This is because the floor of the Cathedral of Siena is considered the most beautiful floor ever made. Who say this is not someone from Siena, it's not a tour guide, but it's Giorgio Vasari, that was the writer and architect that worked for the Medici family. If your enemy says that this is the most beautiful, we have to give credit. To make the cathedral, to make the floor, it taken 600 years, from the 1200s finished only to the 1800s. But the most important panels that we're going to see today are the ones made between the 14 and the 1500s, when the iconographer of the cathedral was Alberto Aringhieri. The philosophers that are looking for the wisdom coming from different parts of the world, that are not fighting each other, but instead they are working together and helping each other for the search of the wisdom. And that is the interesting ecumenic word, ecumenic message, a message for everybody, that if you are interested in wisdom, there is no reason to make war, there is no reason to fight, and they can walk together following the lesson of Socrates and Crates that you see on the top. If they follow their lesson, you can reach the wisdom too. We're able to blend the lesson of Greek and Romans with the sensibility of the...
We're inside the library here at the cathedral. An exquisite library, I must say, with a collection of books from the church and also murals depicting the life of Pope Pius II, who lived around the 1400s. This is considered one of the most important Renaissance paintings of the time.
Coming up of the box, don't get it. It's not very well preserved.
Check out these flavors. And by the way, when you
so
get a
you can see that this they were awarded by Gambero Rosso, and you can see
sure
the
it says
artigianale. So
artigianale.
this is surely.
And as you can see, this is an award-winning one. Santa Caterina.
Ah, yes, okay.
Santa Caterina is the patron saint of Italy.
Yes, right,
And the
correct.
patron saint of Europe.
Yeah, correct, and is a very important figure also for history and for politics. You have to imagine St. Catherine was a sort of opinion leader of the 1300s. If we want, we can consider her a sort of influencer of the time, because she was really changing the history of the time. Imagine that she was a girl that was able to convince everybody to do what Jesus told her to do, and she helped a lot of people at the Santa Maria della Scala, that was a hospital of that time. She was able also to convince the Pope to come back from Avignon in France back to Rome, because for 80 years the popes lived there, and she was able to convince them to come back in Rome. You are the Bishop of Rome, you need to be back here. So this lady was so important for the town that the worshipper and biographer Raimondo da Capua taken the head of St. Catherine from Rome, where she died, and brought back in Siena. And now the relic of the head of St. Catherine is still visible in San Domenico, where it's visible for everybody, and it's impressive how well kept it is.
Why did she become a saint?
Oh, that is a very interesting question. There are some miracles. The most important is she had stigmata, but some other miracles are about the fact that she saved some towns from the plague, from the Black Death. But mostly Catherine was a doctress of the church, in the sense that she was influencing a lot the way the church was acting with the people. So that is the reason why it's so important. You covered practically everything. Maybe you should also name the wines that are produced in the area.
Okay.
Because
Go
we
ahead.
have so many: Brunello, Nobile, Chianti, Morellino. There are many, many wines in the area that are fantastic too, that you should try at least if you come here.
Elio, grazie mille. Arrivederci.
Bye, grazie, arrivederci.
We just stopped over here and got some grapes. Grazie, Alessio. He went and did all the... He promised, look at that. Aspetta. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll be back in Sicily next week and hope you can join Alfred and I for another video of you, me, and Sicily. Until then, arrivederci, ti voglio bene. Ciao.